Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for your time here today. We truly appreciate that you spent the past 3 days with us and are just so excited for the work that you'll do when you go back to your communities. The movement to increase access to summer learning opportunities for every child is strong and it is growing. We couldn't do this work without all of you. Your commitment to developing partnerships, advancing research, increasing access and opportunity, and building inclusivity into summer learning will continue to transform the lives of children and families across the country every day moving forward. And speaking of transformation, we have an incredible guest here with us who's well-versed in making a difference in the lives of young people. Hill Harper is an award-winning actor, author, he's a father, and he's the founder of the Manifest Your Destiny Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to helping underserved youth succeed through education, mentorship, and grant programs. And one of the many programs within his organization is the free Summer Empowerment Academy, which is focused on mentoring and education and supports 8th grade students who are entering high school, a time that we know is all too critical. And although he's cast as head of surgery at San Jose St. Bonaventure Hospital and The Good Doctor on ABC, he also plays a starring role as a summer champion, just like all of you, and is working to help every child soar during the summer months and beyond. We're thrilled to learn that he has great fans here in Kansas City, where The Good Doctor airs on Kmbc TV. It's my pleasure to have Bryan Busby, KMBC 9 TV First Alert Chief Meteorologist, and he's going to bring greetings from your local ABC TV affiliate. Bryan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Remember, I'm in marketing, not production, so don't blame me for Monday's snow, for those who were caught in it. It is good to be here, and it's so good to see so many of you still here at the tail end of this wonderful event. I was talking to some of the organizers here, and the importance of empowering young people who look like myself is so incredible in that I was in the inner city of Cleveland, Ohio, and scared of thunderstorms. Somebody from Cleveland? Really? Hello. My mentor was Dick Goddard, who just retired. And so I would go down to the television station every year, and he would just mentor me, an African-American kid in the late 60s. Because right now, there are only 85-degree TV meteorologists who are African-American in the country. 85 of us. So please continue to mentor and encourage people who are young, who may not think of careers in science and technology. Please continue to do that. So The Good Doctor is on KMBC, and it does very well here in the Kansas City area. So I'm very familiar with the character. I'm very familiar with the show. And since I have a nephew who's autistic, I'm really happy that the way that they have embraced that condition and still show it with a lot of empathy. So I don't want to waste up many more time here, and I do want to bring up tonight's, or today's, keynote speaker. Tonight, since I'm the evening guy, I think like that. But, ladies and gentlemen, please give a Kansas City warm welcome to Hill Harper.
Thank you. Hey, guys. It is a pleasure to be here, and here's the deal. I realize that I'm closing this thing out, and I'm the last, and about 3/4 of you guys have already gone home. But I'm going to make sure, at least I hope to make sure, that this time is worth you staying. And we have a lot to dig into in a short amount of time. But I want to start with an assignment. I want to start, I know you don't want to do it. Break out a piece of paper or your pad or something. Just pull it out, because we got to start with this because it's important. The reason why it's important is because since this is the last, the closeout of this conference, the idea is oftentimes we go to these conferences, we learn a lot of amazing things, we get inspired, and it's really great, we meet great people, But then we go back and sort of revert to the mean or what we've been doing anyway. We allow the institution to pull us back in, and we continue to operate the same way, getting the exact same results. So what I want to do is do a little exercise. So I want you to write on this piece of paper or in your tablet very quickly your professional, watch this, or institutional goals and dreams based off what you've gotten inspired about this week, or even before you were even here, or what you dreamt about last night. What's your name? Roberto. Roberto, what'd you dream about last night?
Speaking this morning.
Okay, fantastic. I hope it was a good speech, Roberto. I wasn't here to hear it, but I hope it was good. So personal and professional goals and dreams, sky's the limit, could be anything. What kind of impact do you want to have? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? Sky's the limit, could be anything. Your goals, dreams, what you'd like to see manifest for your programs. And this is always the hardest group to talk to because you guys are the heroes already, right? You guys are the ones on the front lines doing the good work. You're the ones that actually stayed, so clearly you're the most committed. Or you're just trying to stay out of work as long as possible. One of the two, but that doesn't matter. Point is that part of what I'm going to say is going to challenge certain things. And so don't get mad at me, but hopefully you get inspired. But personal, just the goals and dreams, inspiration, professionally, institutionally, sky's the limit, could be anything. Have you guys all written that? Clap once if you've written it. That's not everybody. Clap twice if you've written it. Clap 3 times. Clap 3 times. Okay, good. We're in sync now. Now watch. Okay, so from here, what I want you guys to do, now this is going to take a little leap. I want you guys to go on a journey with me and cop to this concept. Just sort of cop to this concept that every decision you've made in your life up until now, everything that you've done up until now has led you to be in this place, the Kmbc Ballroom in Kansas City, Missouri, at the exact same time. So therefore, it doesn't matter if you were a straight A student, a straight F student. It doesn't matter if you have the highest performing program or the lowest performing program. It doesn't matter if you hate your boss, love your boss, if you are the boss. None of those things matter because everything you've done up until this point has led all of us to be in this room at the same time. That's why we're the exact group that needs to be here in this place. And so that's going to come to mean something in a second. What it's going to come to mean is I'm going to break down a quote. I don't know if you guys know this. I went to Harvard Law School. And the beautiful thing about Harvard Law School is that they teach you hopefully how to be a critical thinker, hopefully how to dissect cases and argue either side of a case and be a critical thinker about something. And I want to take a quote about the future and do a little dissection, okay? And what I'm going to do is first potentially give a prize. Have you guys gotten any prizes from any other talks that have been given? Okay, good. So this is new. You've had a week of talks, but no prizes. Roberto, you didn't give a prize? It's okay. Your speech was the prize, I'm sure. I'm sure it was. So I'm going to say this quote, and if somebody can tell me who said it, you'll get a prize. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the prize is. The prize will exist in a range. On one side, it could be the brand new big screen iPhone X with Morgan Freeman as the voice of Siri. That's hard to get. That's hard to get. On the other side, it may just be a firm handshake or something in between. From me. Here's the quote we're going to spend most of our time dissecting. Because why is this quote important? It's important because I don't care what's happened over the course of this week or where you've been before, what's happened. What I care about is what you're going to do next. I care about the future. What's next? What are you going to do when you walk out of the Kmbc Ballroom? What impact are you going to have when you go back to your communities? Because you know why I care about it? It's not because I care about you all. I care about the kids you serve. I care about the communities. That's who I care about. And so if you guys can be amplified to scale impact, then you're going to reach more kids. You're going to do more good, right? It's not for you. It's for them. That's why my job is to encourage you guys to do that. We need you. We need you. I don't have to show a bunch of PowerPoint graphs talking about this study or that study. We don't have to dissect why summers are so important. We already know why. It's critical. Summers represent the opportunity to actually make up for so many of the holes and problems that we see throughout our education systems, right? I see summers not as a problem, but as an opportunity. And so what you do when you step out of here is critical. And that is the future. My favorite quote about the future is this: the future does not belong to those who are fearful of bold projects and new ideas, but rather the future belongs to those who can blend passion, reason, and courage into a personal commitment to the great ideals and enterprises of American society. Who said that? Anybody? For the prize. Me. Did I tell you if you get it wrong, you owe me an iPhone? Well, let me see your phone. Is that the new big screen?
No, it's not.
No, let me see. Yeah, what is it? Oh, this is the original iPhone. This is very valuable. They call this the iPhone almost 1. It's got a cracked screen. This is beautiful. I can tell you're committed to the kids because they clearly don't pay you enough. So, we're going to dissect that quote about the future because I want this ingrained in you as you step out of here. The first half of the quote goes, the future does not belong to those who are fearful of bold projects and new ideas, simply meaning the future does not belong to those who are afraid of innovation, of change, of challenging the status quo, challenging institutions. Why is this important to this group in particular? Because I believe that all of you already know and have an intuition of the things you should be doing at your organizations, in these communities, for our kids, but most of you don't execute those things. Most of you fall into the mean or into the institutional notion of the way things have always gone, and you continue to get the same results. You don't challenge enough. And I know that's hard to hear, and you say, Hill Harper, who are you to say I don't challenge enough? But we'll get there. We'll get there. Why do I know you have an intuition of what you could and should be implementing? Is because I know that institutions are extremely strong. They tend to be stronger than the individual. And they tend to pull you back and have you doing things the same way over and over and over. And then we expect a different result, but which doesn't come. And that's what's so frustrating for me, is because we see it doesn't take all of these peer-reviewed studies to know how we're failing. Yet we continue to do small variations of versions of the same thing, even though I believe that most of you have innovative ideas about what drastic changes can be made. Now, I know that Ms. McCullough talked about science earlier. Roberto, don't worry, I didn't make her speech either, but someone told me about it. And I'm going to use a physics example to make my case. So the future does not belong to those who are fearful of bold projects and new ideas. That's innovation. That's something new. That's doing something transformative. Then the quote goes on, but it says, but rather the future belongs to those who can blend, and then 3 words are said. Blend. Passion is the first word. I know you guys are passionate or you wouldn't be here, right? But passion to me doesn't just mean something that you're interested in and something where you want to see impact. Passion also, to me, means energy. And the physics example I'll use that exists around energy is that physics tells us, and is there a physicist here, actually? Is there somebody who dated a physicist here, actually? Yeah? Oh, where? Where's the physicist? Oh, come on. Yeah, don't be scared. Come on. Listen, I got a plane soon. No. Hurry. Oh, come on. Hi. Yeah, come on. You got to come from the people. Hi, what's your name?
Katie.
Katie? Mm-hmm. Are you a physicist?
No, I'm married to one.
Oh, great. This is good. This is fantastic. So, Katie, you're married to a physicist.
Yeah.
Have you learned anything about physics through your marriage?
The universe is big.
Okay, the universe is big. Now, you're going to be our resident physics expert. Yes, you are. And I am going to say certain things because folks look at me and they say, Hill Harper is not Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm not a physicist. They just know I went to law school. But that doesn't mean I can't learn physics because the universe is big. I just learned that. And it's expanding. So I am going to actually use some physics terms to explain passion and how we use it to actually create transformation and scale impact. This is what it's about. You have to say if I'm right or wrong in physics terms, okay? Why, Katie? Actually, I'm going to ask you a question. Why, Katie, do you think that E, or energy, pops up everywhere in physics, like E equals mc squared, energy's here. Energy exists in almost every formula if you actually extend the formula. Why is E everywhere?
It's what makes up the universe.
Okay. That's a wonderfully general answer. But yes, physics tells us that if we're going to change the composition of anything, if we're going to move matter, that energy needs to be applied to do that. And here's the deal. Physics also tells us, Katie, that an equal or greater amount of energy is required to move any given mass.
That's true.
Say that again.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Katie, let's think this through. Let's be critical thinkers. If it's true, if everything I said about energy is true, and if we see a problem like educational achievement gap, which is a pretty big problem, pretty vast, and we want to actually impact that in a very scalable, transformative way, how much energy would be required to do that?
A lot of energy.
A lot of energy. And Katie, if I suggested to you that the vast majority of us, even if we're doing good work, tend to work with too little energy to actually impact it in a scalable, transformative way, would that be sad?
Yeah.
Well, it's sad because it's true. Give it up for Katie, please. Here's the deal. You guys, and I know you hate to hear it because you're doing it every day, but you're not operating in the level of energy required to make a difference. And I know that's hard to hear, but it's up to us. We have to. And here's the beautiful thing about it, though. One of Dr. King's quotes that I love so much, Dr. King said, we're all tied together in a single garment of mutual destiny. We're all tied together in a single garment of mutual destiny, which means I'm inextricably linked to you. The work you're doing inspires me. And that's the beautiful thing about energy, because physics also tells us that energy can't be created or destroyed. It's shareable. We have enough between us to actually impact change in any realm if we figure out new and inventive ways to do our work and then bring other people in. And bringing other people in isn't as hard as it seems because the energy brings them. If you're operating at a high enough level, the problem is when we start to be outliers and start living with a higher level of energy and we do things in a different way, the centrifugal force of the institution starts to try to bring us back in because we challenge the very foundation of the institution itself. I'll give you an example. I went to New York. So I was doing a bunch of talks. Do you guys drink Voss? I like Voss. I like glass bottles because plastic leaches. Stop, if you can, don't drink plastic, y'all. And it's bad for the environment. I know glass bottles are more expensive, but you just have to go to my friend over here. She's saving money because she got her iPhone. So she spends her extra money on the glass bottle vase. But here's the deal. Here's the deal, you guys. So about 10 years ago, I was doing a lot of talks because I'd get invited to schools simply because a lot of people knew that I had 2 graduate degrees from Harvard, but I was also, on television and films, and they thought students might want to hear that story. And I'd meet so many young men, particularly young men of color. They'd come up to me. They never asked questions during the Q&A, which you all would understand why, but they'd all line up on the side, and after I'm talking, hey, Ms. Harper, what's happening, man? Can I talk to you real quick? Yeah, so listen, my goal is to can you help me? Because I got to figure it out. So many of them had goals, dreams that they wanted to execute, and I'd exchange numbers and emails and all of these different things. At that point, Instagram wasn't around, so they couldn't DM me. And I tried to stay in contact with as many, but many of their questions, many of them were growing up without a positive male in their life, and they had questions for me about entering from young adulthood into adulthood and manhood. And I realized that most of their questions fit into certain sets of buckets. So I said, how could I scale my impact? Because I can't answer every email. But what I could do is write a book that they could have. And I'd break it up into chapters that talks about all the different issues and all of that. And so I set out to write this book, and I wrote this book, and I went to New York to meet with the publishing companies to pitch the book. And these institutions said to me, one after the other, say, hey, Hill Harper, at that time I was doing a show called CSI New York, which is a top 5 show at that time. And they said, Hill, you're on a top 5 show that 17 million people watch a week. You have 2 graduate degrees from Harvard. We'd love to do a book with you, but not this book. And I said, well, why not this book? They said, well, you're pitching us a book for a population that doesn't read. We're a for-profit company with a fiduciary responsibility to our shareholders, and we need to make money. We can't do charity books. And I said, well, what makes you think that these young men don't read? They said, well, they don't buy any of our books. I said, well, why don't you actually flip that paradigm on yourself and say we're not actually putting out books that they're interested in reading, not that they don't read. Yet institutionally racist notions are very difficult to break. So you're talking about institutionalized racism that runs throughout your organizations back home, that runs throughout your local governments. So when you have institutional racism, it impacts decision-making and spending. So watch this. I can't tell you, a day does not go by that I do not get a letter or an email or a DM on my Instagram from a young man that said, this book affected me here, changed my life there, did this there. This book could have very easily never come out to have that scalable impact. But I knew that I could prove them wrong. So ultimately, I found a great publishing company. We published it. The book raced up the New York Times bestsellers list. It won the American Library Association Award, Best Book for Young Adults. And 10 years later, it's still in print. It's one of the #1 books that juvenile court judges assign to young men to write book reports. Now, I don't know how I feel about that my book is a penalty. But that's a whole different thing. The point is, Letters to a Young Brother, Manifest Your Destiny almost didn't come out. And the question is, how many other letters to a young brothers are there? Probably 1,000, probably 10,000 that could be transformative to individuals, to groups, scalable, but the institutions stop them, right? The beautiful thing that technology is allowing us to do today is to bypass the distribution process, but at the same time, we need you guys to think more transformatively, more creatively, and not allow the old institutional notions that are wrapped with institutional racism, whether you want to cop to it or not, to quelch and stop ideas. So, energy is required for that. To change something, energy is required. The second word in this 3-word trilogy, after passion, is the word reason. Now, reason simply means coming up with a plan. For me, has anybody here ever read one of my books? Okay. Well, the Rainy Day Books is selling them right out front. Maybe on your plane ride home. If you'd ever read one of my books, you know that I talk about in every single one of my books the idea that we are all active architects of our own life. The idea that all of us have the ability to create whatever life we want. In fact, we're actively creating that life, whether we want to cop to that or not. But we need to think of our life like an architect builds a structure, starting with a blueprint, then building the foundation, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the key. Reason, that word reason is an old-timey word which gives you a clue about how old this quote is. Reason simply means having a plan or a structure, because what we want to do is be able to take all that energy and directly apply it. So whatever impact or problem we're trying to solve, we need to have a plan that's actually modifiable, like a blueprint is modifiable, to actually have and scale that impact. So, passion is first. Second word is reason. The last and final word in this trilogy is my favorite word in the English language. Does anybody here speak French? You do? It's so convenient. The third word is the word courage. And many people think that the antithesis of the word courage is fear, but it's not fear. Courage simply means, or the etymology or the root of the word courage is coeur. And what does coeur mean in French?
Heart.
It means heart. It means heart. And I would suggest that the vast majority of us who are attempting to do good work, we got to get out of our heads and get back into our heart. Because the heart is the only thing that's going to keep us doing the work. It's the only thing that's going to allow us to get up every morning with that passion that's required to say, hey, what makes my heart beat faster? And here's the deal. Don't judge it. If your heart isn't in this work, stop it. And I mean that seriously. Because you're taking a job for someone else whose heart may be in it. Because you're impacting the kids. Don't just keep doing this work because it's the job you have now, or because you think it's the right thing to do. Find whatever makes your heart beat. And if your heart doesn't beat faster about doing this work, it's okay. Open the door for someone that their heart does beat faster when doing this work. Find your bliss. Find what makes you tick. Don't judge yourself around the answer, but find it. Life is too short, you guys, to be doing something you don't like to do, particularly in this space. Because people will look at it and say, hey, they're doing the best they can, but they still keep getting the same result. No, it's because many of us, our heart really isn't in it anymore. Make way. If you feel that way as soon as you fly home, quit your job tomorrow. I'm serious. And this is just for you. Why make yourself unhappy doing something that your heart doesn't actually just pound about? And if your heart doesn't pound about this work anymore, ask yourself why. Because maybe your heart still pounds about the work, but maybe it doesn't pound about the way you're doing the work. Or maybe it doesn't pound about the way your institution is having you do the work. And if that's the answer, then either you got to change the institution or change your place. And that's a very honest and tough conversation that you have to have with yourself. And the reason why it's so important is because the lives of the kids we serve, it's that important. And we need you to be operating at 10 plus. Not at 6. Not at 5 or at 4. It's a tough conversation that you have to have with yourself. Yet you know what? 99% of us won't have that conversation because it's too scary. The thing that stops us, the vast majority of us, from actually making transformative changes in our lives and consequently transformative changes in our communities and the lives of the young people we serve is our own fear. We're afraid to take risk. I had an intuition one time. Just give you an example. I said, speech-making style of standing behind a podium and talking like this. This is dead. It's a new world now. People need to be stimulated in different ways. And someone said, well, I do this thing called the Massmutual Futuresmart Challenge where I go and I take 3,000 middle schoolers in every city we go to. It's virtually every middle schooler in most cities. We bring them into the arena of an NBA stadium. My next one's in Detroit in the Little Caesars Arena where the Pistons play. If you're in Detroit, November 29th, come. It'll be 3,000 middle schoolers. And they say, Hill, isn't it hard when all these kids have phones to keep them off their phones? That's 3,000 kids. And I said, if I can't keep them off their phones with my energy, then I shouldn't be doing the job. I don't blame the kids for getting on the phones. I don't blame the kids for not studying. I don't blame the kids for not learning. I blame us. We're obviously not teaching them in a way that they're interested. And if I can't do a speech for an hour to kids, and my speech is about financial literacy, so it's nothing fun. But if I can't teach them about financial literacy for an hour in a stadium where the noise is so ambient and the Jumbotron is my PowerPoint, if I can't keep them off their phones, it's my fault. If I can't keep them from making noise, it's my fault. If I can't hold their attention energetically enough from half court, it's my fault. I shouldn't be doing the job. Yet we always want to shift the blame, just like the book company did. It's our job. Any kid that's falling through the cracks, it's my fault. It's not their fault. It's not their mama's fault. If I'm doing this work, it's my fault. We're all tied together in a single garment of mutual destiny. That means his destiny is mine. So if one kid is failing, I'm a failure. And if my talk doesn't get you to quit your job because you're not in it, then I failed. That's what's at stake here. These kids' lives. I don't want to get any more letters from prison. I don't want my book being assigned by these juvenile court judges anymore because I don't want these young brothers going in front of them anymore. It doesn't make me happy because you know what? The judges send me the letters that they write because they don't know what to do with them. They feel guilty throwing them away. So they send them to the book company, and then the book company sends them to me. I have stacks and stacks and stacks of letters from juvenile detention facilities and prisons in my office because I don't want to throw them away either. I don't want to get those letters anymore. And it's up to us in this room to stop it. And if we're not willing to do it, then stop doing the work. So, how do you get out of your fear? First, you have to acknowledge that you've already been brainwashed and kind of co-opted. And I'll show you an example. So, you know the piece of paper that I asked you to write on at the beginning about goals? You guys know that one? Nod your head if you understand. Or in your tablet. Will you go back to that piece of paper now or your tablet or whatever you have? And will you double those? Just double. Whatever doubling means to you. If doubling means actually linear thinking of doubling whatever it is, you know, if you said I want to impact 1,000 kids and now it's 2,000, that's very linear. You could do that. Or if doubling means a whole different area of doing something, I don't know what you wrote, it's for your eyes only anyway. Could you double it for me? Does anybody have a question about that or a problem? I just want to make sure I'm being clear. Are you guys writing or are you just saying, please, I have a flight at 3:30. Please hurry up. If you're finished doubling, clap once. Okay. If you're finished doubling, clap twice. Clap 3 times. Oh, we got to get in sync, y'all. Clap 3 times. Thank you. Okay. So, here's the deal. I did that as a little exercise. I did it as an exercise to prove to you that you've already been brainwashed. What do I mean by that? When I asked you to write down your goals, inspiration, whatever, I purposely said 3 times, sky's the limit, could be anything. I said they can be huge. How big? And I said it, I repeated it 3, sky's the limit, could be anything. And then just 30 minutes later, I said double it. And then I asked, does anybody have a question or a problem? And nobody said, hey, Hill, when you said to do it first time, this is the accent I give whoever was going to read it. When you said to do it the first time, you said sky's the limit, could be anything. So I made it really big. I don't even know how I could double it. How can you double something that you already made huge? But 30 minutes later, somebody gives you permission to dream a little bigger, and you're like, okay, I could scale it out a little bit more. Why? Why? Because you've already been infected and affected. You don't even see your scotomas. Who can define scotoma for me? Anybody? What's a scotoma? What is a scotoma? Somebody tell me what a scotoma is. Anybody? A blind spot. A spot that is, if you have a scotoma in your eye, it's a part that you can't see. And I would suggest to you that you've already depressed your goals. You've already suppressed yourself without even knowing it. And you are the ones that are supposed to be encouraging our kids, but you've already suppressed yourself. How are they possibly going to win? If you already thinking so low and your goals are so low and you think that that's the max, sky's the limit, could be anything, means way down here, then you think it's a victory when you save one kid, rather than saying it's only a victory if I save 15,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, my whole state. That's it. If you guys aren't going to dream bigger, how are we going to get the kids to dream bigger? They just follow our example. If you guys aren't going to wake up every morning with a level of energy that makes people say, hold up, what's going on with them? Slow down. If people aren't telling you to slow down, quiet down, you're talking too loud, stop shaking things up, then you're not doing it. Someone should be telling you that every day. When I finish talking, they say, Hill, why do you talk so loud? You lose your voice every time. Stop. Do you start to see how these dots start to line up? And do you start to see how we all are colluding with living with too little energy, with too low goals, with too little innovation, with too little new things, with institutional acceptance of systemic prejudice, economics, race, all of these things, and we act like we're doing something. Yet our goals are still down here because we're too afraid to stop and say, I'm willing to shake things up so much in here that I'm willing to get fired. And if they fire me, I believe enough in myself that I'll create my own new institution that does it a whole different way. Because I've already been working in this space and developed relationships. Shoot, I can call Hill Harper. He'll fund me. If you can get my number, call me. Here's the deal. We even make excuses in that space too. We even say to ourselves, hey, you know, we really would be able to make a difference here, but the funding, It's always the funding, isn't it? The funding, the funding, the funding. The funding's not the problem. You're the problem. We are the problem. Our energy's the problem. Energy's the issue, not the funding. Money is just energy, right? It's a piece. Money is just energy. That's all it is. Right? So you can actually make up for the energy of money. Now, shoot, if you're right, if you have $1 billion, you don't need to be energized. You can just throw money at the problem because it's energy. You can build new institutions, hire new people, and do all that. Sure, but that's just one way. That's just one type of energy. There's a different type of energy out there that's not just funding-based. Funding is an excuse. And you can get mad at me because every time I say that, people say, you don't know my situation. You don't know the county I have to deal with or the people. Or, you know what? Every time I have our rubber chicken dinner, less people show up and buy tables. The old style of philanthropy is dead. The new style is impact capitalism, social entrepreneurship, create institutions that actually create jobs in the community that self-fund. How many silent auctions can we have? How many tables can we sell? That's dead. It's a dinosaur. It's like MySpace. It's done. Impact capitalism, social entrepreneurship. Everybody's like, well, no, I'm in the nonprofit space. I just do nonprofits. Will you donate a painting that I can sell at the silent auction? 7 of our children did hand-painted paintings. We're selling them. Isn't Sharice's painting so wonderful? Will you bid $45 for that? Come on, you guys. You already know the answers. You already know the answers. Okay. How do we walk out of here? This is how we walk out of here. Everything I just talked about is really hard to do. It's really hard to do. And it'll challenge you every day. So, I'm going to offer one tool that I use because I get challenged all the time about it. Get challenged myself because making speeches like this isn't that comfortable, to be honest. Because I do get every once in a while a DM from somebody who said, Hill, I quit my job yesterday. Now who's going to pay my rent? It's not that easy to step out here and challenge. But I have to do this work too, right? I have to hold myself to the same barometer I'm asking you to hold yourself to. So if you take some time and learn anything about me, you'll see that I'm doing everything I'm talking about. I'm taking a lot of risk out there. I'm starting new impact philanthropy businesses, and I'm hiring kids. I have a coffee roastery in Detroit where our whole idea is to hire returning citizens, teach them how to sell coffee because they learned how to sell other things, right? I have a skincare business. It's about healthy skincare because I'm a cancer survivor. And again, all American, all jobs, attempting to create jobs, hire returning citizens, hire immigrants. Imagine that. My foundation down the line, attempting to leverage the resources and platform I have to create change. But to do this, we need help. But sometimes that help has to be you. I never realized till I got to Hollywood why people have entourages. I travel kind of solo, so I have to be my own entourage. So sometimes you need ways to back yourself up. This is what I use. I'm going to share it with you as we close. Now, I want you to repeat after me. I use affirmations because the beautiful thing about having an entourage is that they whisper in your ear, oh, man, you're so good, you're good. Go get them. You can do it. They keep you up. But we have to keep ourselves up if we can't afford an entourage. So an affirmation does that. So say this with me. I will not. I will not. Okay. See what just happened? See? How long have I been here? About 35 minutes. I got to go. So I just spent 35, 40 minutes talking about energy, losing my voice. And then I asked a simple thing to repeat after me. I said, I will not. And I hear you guys say, I will not. Which proves to me that you're just going to go back to your same old life. You're going to go back. You're just going to revert back to the mean. You're going to revert back. Every time someone gives you an opportunity to live with a higher level of energy, you revert back. And it's going to continue to happen. So I hope you hold a mirror up to yourself about that. Because it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, DM me on Instagram. Say, Hill, it didn't happen today. In fact, you could DM me every day, every morning. Hill, I didn't revert back today. Hill, I didn't revert back today. Hill, I didn't revert back today. I'll hit you back and say, keep going, keep pushing. So see if you can actually do this as a practice. Raise your vocal energy a little bit, because this is the type of energy you need to start getting used to living with all the time. I will not. Thank you. Allow fear to stop me from making the choices that I already know I should make. Instead, I will act with my heart, with passion and energy, and I will win at my life. And in so doing, change my community. God bless you guys. Thank you for having me. Thank you.